You cannot measure every morsel that passes your lips, but it is a good idea to measure most foods and beverages until you get a feel for portion sizes. It is a supersized world out there, and most people are surprised to find that their idea of a single serving is actually 2 or 3. If you are into bells and whistles, there are food scales that are pre-programmed with nutritional information, as well as scales that will keep a running total of your daily food and nutrient intake for you. The only tools you really need, however, are a simple and inexpensive gram scale, dry and liquid measuring cups, an idea on reading food labels. Among all of the mentioned tools, reading food labels seem to be the most effective way of determining the right kind of food to be bought in the supermarket. It lets you make sensible food selections. Through the Nutrition Facts section in a particular item in the grocery, you can identify the amount of serving sizes provided in that product. With food labels, you can clearly understand the amount and kinds of nutrients that are provided in the item. Usually, it contains the information on saturated fat, sodium, total fat, fiber, and cholesterol amount per serving. However, understanding and reading these food labels can be very perplexing. A typical consumer would definitely ask what those numbers mean and how it will affect her diet intake if ever she will religiously follow the serving guide as stipulated on the food label. To further have a clear and more comprehensive understanding of the items stated in the food label, here is a list of things that you need to know. Number 1. Serving size. This is the primary item you will see in a food label. The amount of servings stated in the food label refers to the quantity of food people usually consume. However, this does not necessarily mean that it reflects your very own amount of food intake. Moreover, serving size determines the amount of nutrients that enters the body. This means that if you will follow strictly what the serving size is, you will obtain the same amount of nutrients according to the serving size that was given in the label. For instance, if the serving size says one serving size is equal to 54 grams, that would mean you have to measure 54 grams and eat that, and you have just eaten one serving. So to speak, the amount of nutrients stated in the food label is the same amount that has entered your body, considering the fact that you have just eaten 54 grams. However, if you have eaten everything, and the food label says that each pack is equivalent to 4 servings, you have to calculate the amount of nutrients that have entered your body. This means that if the food label says 250 calories per serving, that means you have to multiply it to 4 to get the total amount of calories you have taken. Number 2. Nutrients. This refers to the list of available nutrients in a particular item. It is also where the nutritional claims of the product based on the recommended daily dietary allowance are stated. Usually, the nutritional amounts are based on both the 2,500 calorie diets and the 2,000 recommended dietary allowances. In order to understand the numeric value of each item, you should know that the percent daily value that the food label indicates is actually based on how a particular food corresponds to the recommended daily dietary allowance for a 2,000 calorie. If in the event that you have purchased an item that has a dietary allowance different from the 2,000 calorie diet, you just have to divide the stipulated amount by 2,000 and you will be able to identify the percent daily value for the nutrients. What are added sugars and how are they different from total sugars? Total sugars on the Nutrition Facts label includes sugars naturally present in many nutritious foods and beverages, such as sugar in milk and fruit, as well as any added sugars that may be present in the product. No daily reference value has been established for total sugars because no recommendation has been made for the total amount to eat in a day. Added sugars on the Nutrition Facts label include sugars that are added during the processing of foods, such as sucrose or dextrose, foods packaged as sweeteners, such as table sugar, sugars from syrups and honey, and sugars from concentrated fruit or vegetable juices. Diets high in calories from added sugars can make it difficult to meet daily recommended levels of important nutrients while staying within calorie limits. Note, having the word "includes" before added sugars on the label indicates that added sugars are included in the number of grams of total sugars in the product. Number 3. Percent daily values. Find out how many calories are in a single serving. Use percent daily values to help evaluate how a particular food fits into your daily meal plan. Percent daily values are for the entire day, not just one meal or snack. Daily values are average levels of nutrients for a person eating 2,000 calories a day. A food item with a 5% daily value of fat provides 5% of the total fat that a person consuming 2,000 calories a day should eat. You may need more or less than 2,000 calories per day. For some nutrients you may need more or less than 100% daily value. Low is 5% or less. Aim low in saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol and sodium. High is 20% or more. Aim high in vitamins, minerals and fiber. Number 4. Ingredients. This refers to the list of the ingredients that were used to manufacture the product. The listing is usually arranged from the main ingredients that have the greater amount by weight up to the smallest quantity. This simply means that the actual quantity of the food includes the biggest quantity of the main ingredient or the first item and the minimum amount of the very last ingredient. Important dietary fiber, vitamin D, calcium, iron and potassium are nutrients on the label that Americans generally do not get the recommended amount of. They are identified as nutrients to get more of. Eating a diet high in dietary fiber can increase the frequency of bowel movements, lower blood glucose and cholesterol levels, and reduce calorie intake. Diets higher in vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium can reduce the risk of developing osteoporosis, anemia, and high blood pressure. Remember, you can use the label to support your personal dietary needs. Choose foods that contain more of the nutrients you want to get more of and less of the nutrients you may want to limit. Number 5. Label claim. This refers to the kinds of nutritional claims of a particular food item. For instance, if an item says it is sodium-free, it has less than 5 mg per serving, or a low-fat item actually contains 3 grams of fat or less. Indeed, reading food labels can be very tedious and confusing. Nevertheless, once you get the hang of it, it would be easier for you to watch your diet because you can already control the amount of food that you take. Number 6. Consider the additional nutrients. You know about calories, but it also is important to know about the additional nutrients on the nutrition facts label. Protein, a percentage daily value for protein is not required on the label. Eat moderate portions of lean meat, poultry, fish, eggs, low-fat milk, yogurt and cheese, plus beans and peas, peanut butter, seeds and soy products. Carbohydrates. There are 3 types of carbohydrates: sugars, starches and fiber. Eat whole grain breads, cereals, rice and pasta plus fruits and vegetables. Sugars, simple carbohydrates, or sugars, occur naturally in foods such as fruit, fructose, and milk, lactose, or come from refined sources such as table sugar, sucrose, or corn syrup. Added sugars will be included on the updated nutrition facts label. The 2015 to 2020 Dietary Guidelines for Americans recommends consuming no more than 10% of daily calories from added sugars. Recommendations. Choose low in saturated fat, added sugars and sodium. Eating less saturated fat, added sugars and sodium may help reduce your risk for chronic disease. Saturated fat and trans fat are linked to an increased risk of heart disease. Eating too much added sugar makes it difficult to meet nutrient needs within your calorie requirement. High levels of sodium can add up to high blood pressure. Remember to aim for low percentage daily value of these nutrients. Get enough vitamins, minerals and fiber. Eat more fiber, potassium, vitamin D, calcium and iron to maintain good health and help reduce your risk of certain health problems such as osteoporosis and anemia. Choose more fruits and vegetables to get more of these nutrients. Remember to aim high for percentage DV of these nutrients. Foods with more than one ingredient must have an ingredient list on the label. Ingredients are listed in descending order by weight. Those in the largest amounts are listed first. This information is particularly helpful to individuals with food sensitivities, those who wish to avoid pork or shellfish, limit added sugars, or people who prefer vegetarian eating.